Thanks, Susan. I wanted to bring up Sabre again to talk about the challenges facing California. For 10 minutes.
So this is Jim's PowerPoint presentation, so it's going to be really quick because we're going to read it together. I have looked at it, but so I'm going to go. We want to start this conversation with a summary of the challenges facing California, and I'll just tell you why quickly. This group probably knows better than most already what the challenges facing California are. You don't need me. I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know. But it's important to start all of these conversations here, because when you tell folks that you want to have a conversation about structural governance reform, it's an issue area actually that a lot of people get kind of, particularly people who are involved in civic life and in their community and in business and government politics, they've thought a lot about in a lot of cases, and they have kind of decided what they think needs to be done. So you get a reaction from people where some people say, well, I know what we need. We've got to change the 2/3 vote on the budget or the 2/3 vote on taxes. And someone else says, you know, that's the last thing that we should be doing. That's the worst thing that we could do. And someone else says, we need publicly financed campaigns. And someone else says, we need to end ballot box budgeting. You know, and everyone sort of has their favorite pet issue. And then people will cluster around each one. Each group will be a minority of the total voting population, and no one's going to be interested in anyone else's idea. We can't start the conversation there. That isn't going to work. That's not going to get us to a sort of solution. So we've spent a lot of time thinking, how do we do this then? Where do we start? What do we have in common? We all care about the future of California. That's really why I think a lot of us are here. We love this state. We care about it. We care about our kids. We want them to have tremendous opportunities. We want to be responsible for what we leave for future generations. I think we absolutely, all of us, no matter where we are and all of the different ways of dividing us up that Susan just went through, that's what we have in common. So let's start with that. What do we know about California? And then together, what do we want, and what do we think needs to be changed in order to get to what we want? That's the path that we want to take people down, if possible. So for that reason, we're going to go quickly through a distillation of what we understand to be the challenges facing California, and you can sort of check them against whether this sounds right to you, what you would add, change. Actually, we would love that kind of feedback from today going forward as well. So we encourage you to make any notes if there's anything you think we got wrong, left out, should highlight more, and so forth. Okay, so let's see. I push this button, I believe. Do I point it at you? Where do I point it? Does it matter? Ceiling? There we go. Okay. I don't think it's supposed to look this way. Does it look this way on yours?
Can you maximize it?
Did I push the wrong one?
Yes.
There we go. Okay, we're good. When we look at the state of California, we see dramatic changes happening in 4 broad areas. We've got, and we're going to go through some of the details in each of these. A lot of changes happening in the political arena, in terms of representation, changes with regard to the economy, and I think actually we're going in a different order. Political changes, dramatic population growth in the next couple of decades, very significant and important to monitor social and demographic changes because they need to affect how we make decisions and how people participate in conversations that drive the state forward, and changes in the economy that are going to be really important to be on top of. Challenge number 1, the political system today is just not working. Public approval of the legislature is at record lows. Am I blocking people over here? Can you guys see? All right. This graph shows California legislative approval ratings down and down and down. This is November 2009. We've got a poll that's in the field now. We had partial top lines yesterday. That 18% is down to, I think, about 11%. It's going down. Two-party system is increasingly unpopular. The interesting line here is yellow. The bottom line, the fastest growing so-called party registration in the state is decline to stake. This is certainly happening with young people. It's also happening among Latino voters, which is a growing segment of the voting population. It's happening across the board, frankly. And people keep expecting it to even out or for something to change. or for people to change their registration when they get older, thinking it's just a phenomenon of young people. It's not happening. That yellow line is on a straight upward trajectory, and the red and the blue, you know who those stand for. With all due respect, they're not. There's a little uptick on the blue, but those are both trending down. 3 out of 4 voters believe the state's run by a few big interests looking out for themselves. We see this again and again in the polling that we do. The biggest people are unhappy with the way both the governor and the legislature, both parties, are running the state. But if you ask them what they think the biggest problem is, it's not that. It's special interests dominating the conversation and impairing the ability of the state to really look out for the public, the broad public interest. 62% of people think state government wastes a lot of money that they pay in taxes. More than 1 in 10 voters say they never trust state government to do what's right. Challenge number 2, population growth. This isn't a problem. It's not. I mean, all of these things are opportunities if we handle them right. But we may or we may not, and so that's why we're calling them challenges. California will have nearly 60 million residents by 2050. Look at that. Those bars jump up. Woo! Oh, look at that. I didn't even know that was going to happen. Dear Senator, I think we're growing apart. This is Assembly representation. So this is really interesting. So this isn't come as a surprise to anyone. This is representation in California. Assembly districts are now about 500,000 people. Senate districts, state Senate districts have got almost 1 million people per district. That's insane. I mean, that's the state of South Dakota, which has 1 representative. Actually, it's half of that. The state of South Dakota is more like 500,000 people. It's 600,000 as of a couple of years ago. And they have 1 representative and 1 senator, 1 U.S. senator representing 500,000 people, and a state legislature representing real districts of tens of thousands each. We've got for every state senator 1 million people each. How do you have representative government with that? You can't. And you know what happens when you have polling on that? The public, because of that ratio, when you poll regular folks, they have never met their state senator or assembly person. They don't know anyone who's met them. They've never seen them. These are people that live on another planet as far as they're concerned. And if you say to them, do you think that's a problem? Maybe we need smaller districts. They're mortified by the thought of that because there's such a disconnect that they assume that they're not there to serve the public interest. They're there just to line their pockets. And my God, we don't need more of them, taking even more of my tax dollars. So you're going in the absolute wrong direction in terms of solving the problem. This is a really big deal. And we can't even have that conversation until we start to restore the broken trust that most Californians have with government. Challenge number 3, demographics are changing. As baby boomers retire, the number of seniors living in the state will double over the next 20 years. So you're looking here at the purple bar at the top. That, as you can see, from down there to here, literally doubles. Latinos will become California's largest ethnic group in 10 years and will comprise the majority in 2050. This is very interesting. There, the red bar in the middle that's growing. In polling, Latinos have usually stand out in their confidence in government to be able to solve problems, which is heartening and something that is going to be exciting to work with, I think, in the future years. They tend to, as a voting group, believe that government actually can make the kind of differences that we want to empower to make through this process. The challenge, the economy is evolving. California must compete in a global economy. This is more and more true every year. I know all of you in this room feel that and experience this in your professional lives. This is a Milken Institute ranking. It's a composite ranking of multiple cities throughout the state, and you can see what's happening from 2002 to 2009 in terms of economic performance. This is mostly, I believe, job growth, or lack thereof. California revenue more volatile than the economy. The line to pay attention to here is the yellow line first. This is total state revenue. Look at how jagged that is. This kind of volatility makes it almost impossible to manage programs and public services over time. The blue line is total personal income. It's there to show, it's also, there's some volatility there, of course, and it roughly matches the yellow, but the volatility is nothing like the state revenue volatility. State dysfunction has local consequences. This is how much of the general fund expenditures are going to local services. If our state government is dysfunctional, And that's where all of the local money is coming from. You can imagine what kind of an impact that's having on local government.